Good morning, everybody. My name's Maya Van Rossum. I'm the Delaware Riverkeeper, and I want to welcome everybody here this morning and thank you so much for making the long journeys that many of you have made, even the short journeys, to get here to the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. here this morning. We really appreciate it. And I want to acknowledge, all the folks who have helped bring today's event together. The actual organizers of the event included the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, Berks Gas Truth, Food and Water Watch, Earthworks, Beyond Extreme Energy, Clean Water Action, and the Catskill Mountain Keeper. Representatives from all of these organizations have worked very hard with us at the Delaware Riverkeeper Network to bring today's People's Hearing to life. So I want to thank that. And I also want to thank the 48 organizations from across the country, of which many of you are a part, that helped sponsor today's event. And I won't go through the list, but it is in the program. And we want to thank you all for being here, for helping to publicize the event, for helping to tell elected officials about it so they could come and be represented, to make sure that we got our press here, our local press and our national press, either here in the room or talking with us by phone, so we could make sure that this People's Hearing got the broadest coverage possible. As all of you know, it was in September of this year that 182 organizations wrote to Congress to ask for congressional hearings into the abuses of power and law that we all have been experiencing at the hands of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and the incredible misuse and abuse of the language of the Natural Gas Act and any other law they could think of in order to heap upon us, to force upon us, the gas pipelines, the compressor stations, and the LNG infrastructure projects that we're all here to talk about today. Now, within 24 hours, we got a positive response from some representatives in Congress, from actually the Democratic caucus on the House side, got back in touch and agreed with us that congressional hearings into the Natural Gas Act and into FERC were appropriate and were necessary. But of course, it's going to take more than just a few to help make those congressional hearings happen. We really need the 115th Congress next year to make congressional hearings into what is happening in all of our communities when it comes to FERC. We need them to make it a top priority and to make it happen. But also, all of us who are fighting these gas pipelines, we don't have the luxury of waiting until Congress decides to give us a moment to have a voice, to have our day in the sun, to tell our stories to the world so that we can help make change happen. And that's why we have organized this People's Hearing here in Washington, D.C., to which we have invited elected officials to come themselves, to send their staff, so we can start to tell our stories today to help prove to Congress that they have to prioritize congressional hearings into what is happening with FERC and the Natural Gas Act. So that's why we are here today, right? We're here today to give voice to what is happening in the world and to try to convince the 115th Congress to do the right thing, and to do the right thing, let's say, within their first 100 days. That would be a great target. I do want to, let folks know that we have 63 representatives from communities across the nation who are going to be testifying today, and I actually did a count up just earlier from the program, and we have 14 states as well as Washington D.C. represented here in the room today. We have representatives from West Virginia, from Mississippi, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, Oregon, Virginia, Ohio, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Florida, Maryland, Arizona, and of course, Washington, D.C. I think that is not just a magnificent showing, but it shows how important this issue is to all of us and to communities across the nation. So thank you all for coming and helping us to tell this important story.
Add Connecticut there.
And Connecticut is here too. So that is 15 states. Do I have to do the list again?
Yeah.
And Connecticut, West Virginia, Mississippi, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, Oregon, Virginia, Ohio, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Florida, Maryland, Arizona, and Washington, D.C. Thank you for coming from Connecticut. So I just want to quickly go over sort of how today is gonna go, just to remind folks, and we did have a few last-minute adjustments. So we do have 63 individuals who are going to be testifying. Everybody's been given 4 minutes. Everybody's been asked to turn their hearing testimony in advance and to deliver that testimony verbatim. That way we make sure that we stay on track, but we also make sure that we have an absolutely accurate record of what you are all saying in your hearing today. Because the information we get today does not come here and stay here and go out on video and then that's it. We're going to take this testimony and create a report that we are going to be delivering to Congress to, again, make the point that congressional hearings are necessary. The report is going to include objective evidence that we've been receiving from all of you for many months about what's happening in the world. It's going to include what is in your statements, what is in your testimony. It's going to include verdicts that are going to be written by each of our judges based upon what they hear today. And we're going to be working very hard in January with all of you to get that report into the hands of Congress. So the way we're going to run this is after we get the hearing started, at the beginning of each panel, Judge Edwards is going to recite the names of all the testifiers in that panel. We are going to ask you to sit in that front row. Oh, I'm so sorry. The individuals in the front row, you have to move. I didn't see you there. My apologies. So we're going to ask everybody who's testifying to please come sit in these front row seats. And then to pay attention to who's speaking before you. And we're going to ask you, after you've been called forward and come to that front row, to sort of self-identify when it's your turn to come to the podium. We have made the modification that we only have one podium. We're not having 2 podiums because we want to get a good camera shot for everybody. Because we are going to be taping this and putting it up very quickly after the fact, the whole hearing. So after the person in front of you goes, please come up to the podium and offer your testimony and then step aside so the next person can come up. If we get off track, if somebody forgets or isn't paying attention, Judge Edwards will make sure that you are reminded so that you can get up to the podium. Judge Mincis is going to help keep everybody on time track. Now, again, you did, submit your hearing testimony in advance. So if you're coming to the end of your testimony, it's at the end of 4 minutes and you got 2 sentences left, he's not going to bug you. But if we see from your written testimony that you've come to 4 minutes and you got 2 paragraphs, well, then Judge Mincis is going to make sure that you know it's 4 minutes and it's time to wrap up and stop. Because we really have to stay on track if we're going to get everybody up to the podium to deliver their testimony. If you want to tweet, you want to Twitter, you want to whatever, all these things, you want to do it, please do it. People are very interested in what's going on, and it would be great to have you help us get the word out. Hashtag. And we have a hashtag. And the hashtag is hashtag FERC People's Hearing. No apostrophe. FERC People's Hearing. Any other questions before we get started? Okay, so judges, if you can introduce yourself, and then Chief Justice, if you can get us going.
Aaron Stumplewitz, attorney, Delaware Riverkeeper Network.
Annika Walsh, student at Ithaca College, representing Millennial Generation.
Scott Edwards, an attorney at Food and Water Watch.
I'm Aaron Minces, I'm on the policy staff at Earthworks.
All right, so with that, we're coughing. All right, so with that, we're going to call to order the People's Hearing to investigate FERC. May all those with business before this honorable body please be welcome, come forth, and testify and make your voices heard.